drive this car again. Hello viewers, Super GT here. Now in a recent video I universally declared that I would never drive the Lamborghini Huracan again. But this is a story of positivity and enlightenment because, well, you might have seen last week's video around Fuji in the Lamborghini. You might have seen the stream as well. Now, I decided last week that I was gonna get good in this car on this track, and I thought I'd make a video about it, you know, because I didn't really plan on making this video. I just did a session where I churned out some races to try to get my driver rating up, because they have increased the maximum driver rating that you can get. It used to be 75,000, now it's 100,000, although I've never had it above about 68,000 if I'm honest. And I felt as though I'll do a little session, try and get my ratings up, try and get some good results and see how it goes. I didn't really plan on recording it, but I had my recorder on in the background anyway, so I thought actually we've had some good races here, why not make a video out of it. It is the same track and car combination as what you may have seen last week, but sometimes I think it's a good idea just to show you some better races, and that is exactly what we're going to see today. And in this first one we have PR1 Will, we have AMR1 James just up in front here. So Will opting for the Viper, and he was really quick in that car. And the thing I wanted to do is really get used to this Lamborghini Huracan. Now, I declared that I wouldn't drive it again in that live stream. That was the Monday night live stream, so the first day of the new week, obviously. And therefore, I wasn't quite used to the car. There's a lot of learning to do, and this car is one of those cars that requires an absolute ton of learning. You can't jump into it and feel comfortable straight away, unless you're an absolute alien. But I'm not an alien, I'm just a human, and therefore I do have to learn it. And that was the main thing here. And it got me thinking a little bit actually, just about the way that I play this game, because I feel as though recently I haven't really, I don't know how to quite say this, but I haven't been quite putting in the amount of effort that is required to actually really race very quickly at the front, you know. So that perhaps gives me a good reason to be finishing 6th place, the fact that I'm not always putting in as much time as I really should do. But today on this event, for these races, I actually put in quite a lot more time than I normally would, and it was actually paying dividends. It was really proving in the results, in the qualifying times that I was getting, that it was actually a good thing. I was actually getting much better qualifying times, I was getting much better results in the race, and I was feeling much more comfortable in this car, which is difficult to drive. So all good stuff there. So lap 2 then, and we're coming up to the final 2 corners. Definitely the worst 2 corners in the known universe. Really tricky. I'd still, even after all of this racing, I'm still not completely comfortable for these last 2 corners. Still quite difficult to get dead right. We do have a penalty here for James, and he's going to serve that just here. Probably one of the worst places to serve a penalty in the whole game. I risked going through him, could have gone into the back of him there, but turned out just about okay. So 38.2 in the race, and anything in the low 38s I think was very good lap time for the race, and anything in the 37s was exceptional pace in the race, given that at this point I think my fastest qualifying time was 38.0, and therefore anything around that is very quick. But I've explained this a couple of times before, in that getting a good qualifying time and really doing a lot of qualifying really helps you in the race. Not only of course because you start near the front or nearer to the front, but the fact that you've done so many laps, you just get that muscle memory of how to drive the circuit, and you're less likely to make a mistake, you're much more likely to be consistent, and that is certainly being the case right now. And Will having a big slidey session through the hairpin, and then the left-hander as well, and I thought it was the Huracan that was meant to be slidey, but he's getting that Viper all sorts of sideways through that section, and we are definitely gaining. And PR1 Will, I think at this time here, He dragged that Viper into a top 10 time. So we're racing against someone who is capable of top 10 times, who is in the top 10. And therefore we're doing okay. He goes for the much wider line, which gets him a good exit. And you see I actually pull up quite close to him. In the slipstream, as we cross the line, there we go, 37.8. That is actually quicker than my qualifying time, very quick. That's probably about half a second off the world record, which is pretty decent. And yes, it was slipstream assisted, but still, you still have to deliver the lap, and it's not easy to do that. And therefore, in this final lap, we actually have a chance of going for the win. And yes, slipstream assisted, we all know that, but still difficult to catch up with someone who's very, very quick and isn't really making too many mistakes. But then, of course, it is a different matter altogether, trying to get past them. Although at this circuit, there is one good thing about this track, just one good thing. The rest of it is awful. Although, to be fair, now that I've driven it quite a lot, I'm getting a bit more used to it. The good thing here is that the final corner is a very good overtake opportunity. So you always have a chance. It's not like there's only one overtake opportunities at the start and then once you've gone past it, that's it. It's like, at this track, on this race, you have a chance right until the final corner of the race. Just as long as you can keep nice and close, and it really does open up in that final turn, especially as Will is going for the very wide line, as I've noticed in these first few laps. And coming through here, I'm probably not quite close enough. He is about half a second ahead there, and yeah, it's not quite going to be close enough. I got very close to him, but not close enough. It's going to be a second place in the end, and that is certainly a very good result, given my misdemeanours earlier in the week, how I was very shocking in this car and never wanted to drive it again. So I can't complain too much. 38.2, final lap, so consistent there. The last 3 laps of the race, all very close to a 38.0, and most certainly take that. As we move on to another race, it's going to be a bit of a grind, this one, but that's what you've got to do if you want to get your driver rating up. Just churn them out, baby. Into turn 1 then, up against the infamous Heisenberger. As we go through turn 1, we're fine. 6th place. We have a spinner up ahead. That's AMR James 1, or AMR 1 James, and he goes down to 5th. And then the classic way the penalty system works, the guy in 2nd, obviously that was his fault, so he's going to get a penalty for that. So we're going to gain another position, presumably at the end of the lap from that. And then there's another penalty for 3rd place. So it really is all kicking off at the moment. Heisenberg goes narrow. I'm going to get the cutback on the way out of this turn. And there we go, just about get it done. Now we've got the 2 penalties to be served ahead. Main thing therefore will just be to be nice and sensible here and just keep on the tail of 3rd place. No point in losing too much time going for a pass now, because I'm going to get the position anyway at the end of the lap. Coming out of that corner, I targeted that corner there, the one we just come out of. That's one of the most important places for gaining time, I found. Just getting on the power early. You can really gain 2/10 quite easily if you get on the power a little bit earlier, and you really learn about getting on the power whilst keeping the car under control, because that is probably the hardest thing in this car. Getting on the power early to make the most of the power, but doing it in a way that doesn't end up with you in the barrier. Okay, so end of the lap. Czech guy serves the penalty, as does the other guy here. We move up into 2nd, 6th place to 2nd in 1 lap. Now, of course, there was lots of circumstances that went my way there. Penalties, people spinning, etc. But still got to make the most of it, you know. PR1 Will out in front again, making a mistake there, going a little bit wide. Now, he did favour that wide line, but obviously not on the grass. The grass is not ideal. Setting a decent lap there, 38.5, mid 38. Probably could do a little bit better, but could be worse at the same time. Into turn 1, I suppose once again it's just a case of just putting yourself into a position where you could possibly go for a move into that final corner. It didn't quite happen though. Will recovered and he won that one quite easily, but it was the 2nd place, and we were beginning to get really comfortable in this car, really churning out some decent results towards the front of the pack, and that's the main objective. You know, that's what I was trying to achieve, and must have put in quite a lot more hours. This race, see, nothing really happened. I put in a lot more hours into this than I normally would, and it really does pay off. And a lot of people always ask me for tips. You know, how do I improve my driver rating? don't ask me how I got that stupid penalty. How do I improve my ratings? How do I do it? I think the best way is to pick one of these races that you feel comfortable with and really focus on your qualifying, get a really good qualifying time as best you can, spend at least 20 minutes, half an hour on your qualifying, maybe more if you can, and then just really churn out the results, churn out the race, just play it nice and safe. I'm going to go for a massive lunge here, that isn't playing it safe, but somehow got that job done and we recovered to 7th on that one. Bit of a frustrating penalty because it really killed any hope I had. In this one, finishing in 6th place, yes, you guessed it, and we start 6th. We seem to be around about this position, but typically in my race I'm moving forward, and therefore it kind of shows that my qualifying time isn't quite as good as it could be. And I was really worried. I thought I was going to get a penalty for that. 9 times out of 10 on Gran Turismo, that would have been a penalty for me. And they would have thought that I spun him out, but obviously not. So thankfully, we're okay. We are a bit further away from this pack than we would have liked, although we do have a penalty being served here. And we can tuck into a slightly closer slipstream. Absolutely make the most of the slipstream. Wherever the guy ahead goes, you follow them, as long as you're within the slipstream range. Coming into turn 1. It's a nice juicy battle for the lead. It looks like Will Murdoch in the Hyundai, he's just dicking on all of us now because he found it so easy in the Viper there to choose some absolute Scheisenwagens and show us who's boss. Although, to be fair, in capable hands, most cars are actually decent, to be honest. A lot of it is the car. Sorry, a lot of it is the driver. Most of it is down to the driver in this, I would say. And France is going a little bit wide. I'm going to nip up the inside on the way out. Is that going to give us enough momentum? Not quite. He's still there on my right. There he is. And he's going to get the position back. But we are most certainly within a shout of trying to get a slightly better result here. Possibly a podium down into the hairpin. And they're going through here 2 by 2. Just going to try and pick the correct side. We're going to go to the left, are we? Yes, we are. Going to try and go around the outside. And it's not quite going to work. Although that guy got a penalty out of all of that. So we're going to gain 1 position at the end of this lap at least. France on the left hand side, no way around the outside, it's almost impossible to do. You see there, just sliding it through that corner, so easy to do on that curb as we go through the final corner. And the racing is a lot better at the front, I must say, as everyone kind of knows what they're doing. Kind of, like, not completely, but kind of. As we cross the line, up into 4th, 2 laps to go, half the race done. It is quite a short race, less than 8 minutes, more like 7. I kind of wish it was a little bit longer. I think a 5-lapper here would be a bit better, but then that gives me 1 lap extra with which to bottle the race, I suppose. So maybe should be careful what I wish for, shouldn't I? Now, coming down the middle straight into the fast sweeping turn 3, getting it through there quite nicely. And then into the long right-hander, double apex, waiting for that tarmac pathway there. That's kind of your second apex. There's a shadow on the right-hand side here, the last shadow of the 3, and then boom, you're in into that corner beautifully. And that's kind of the one thing. Again, another tip: certainly work out your braking points. Know where you're braking in the slipstream. There's that gantry on the right-hand side. There it is. I'm braking about a car length before in the slipstream. When you're not in the slipstream, you can brake you brake pretty much when you're just underneath the gantry, and then in the slipstream just a bit before. And it's those kind of little things, those details that you need to work out, and it's going to give you the consistency. Good fighting through here, side by side with Francis. Going to get that position, and on the exit, he is still there on the right. He could slam up the inside here. He chooses not to. Very close racing, and I'm up into 3rd. But now we have a chance of going for 2nd. Again, lots of seconds in this race. I do need to win one eventually. Penalty behind, and fully tucked into that slipstream now. Against the Hyundai, is he going to defend? Yes, he is. Goes to the right. We're going to keep it to the left-hand side then. Easily go past him. The Lamborghini, really good in a straight line. Braking on the 150, and I think I might have moved over a little bit too much on the brakes there, admittedly. But I still think you might have overshot that, as it was anyway. And we move up into 2nd place. and just one lap to try to bring this home then. The leader a good second and a half away or more. It's not going to quite play out for us for this race win unless he bottles it, but he didn't. You see that here. So the guys behind kept quite close. They did have the slipstream, I didn't, but we just about managed to do enough to keep a second. So another good result. Churning them out here, up 4 positions, and I was typically moving forward, which is usually a good sign, or usually it's a bad sign that you're not good enough at your qualifying. And we go for another race. You can really sort of feel the vibe of this session. It was just very grindy, churning them out. Czech guy here, a little bit slow through the apex of that one, just kind of getting pinned on the apex and not really accelerating all that much. And we therefore turned our attention to the top 2. Space opened up here. This is a classic final corner move at Fuji. Up the inside, get the job done. It really opens up so much. And now we have a chance of going for the race victory. Setting the fastest lap of the race there in the slipstream. He's going to go defensive, fully to the right hand side. He knows it's coming. As we get on the brakes, on the anchors into turn 1. He's overshot a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean quite a lot. That's going to give us a run on the exit here. It's going to be a drag race down to the next corner. I have got slightly ahead. Is he going to back out? He does at the last minute. And we're up into the lead of the race. And we have 1 3/4 laps with which to try to bring this one back home for our first victory in quite a while. We've had lots of seconds, and that is good for your driver rating, but in terms of you just want to win races, don't you? You want to win the race, so we're going to try and do that. And for those wondering, how much driver rating do you go up per race? When I was winning or second, I was getting maybe 700 or 800 for a race win, I think, or a second. Extra driver rating points, which is quite a lot. 10 of those, and you've gone up 6,000-7,000. And then if I was finishing in about 4th, 5th, or 6th, there was more like 400 or 500, and that's about how quickly you're going to go up. There's a bit of contact there into that second to last corner. And that's going to give us a bit of breathing space into this final turn. Didn't have to worry about being overtaken. And there we go, we're safe. We're going to bring home a victory at long last. Something I would never thought I'd say. When I first drove that track, I didn't think I was going to win any races in that car around that circuit. But just shows you, put a bit more time in and it can happen. Now the next race, as you can probably guess by the little graphic here.
Shut up, clock in and load up.
It didn't quite go to plan. Now we went up the inside of this Russian into the hairpin, and it was mainly myself, Splatbot up ahead here, and the guy in the lead who I can't say his name. It was us 3 racing for a long time, and we kind of got to learn each other's races, the way that we race, our styles and all that. And then this Russian guy came in, and you think, okay, someone different, maybe he's a bit rusty. And most certainly he was rusty, because out of nowhere we had a torpedo attack. And I think this guy must have been Daniel Kvyat in disguise. That's the only logical explanation. As we have a quick replay, and boom, absolutely murdered me. Russian missile out of nowhere. Now, coming up to the next race, you know what's going down here at turn 1. A revenge attack into the first corner. Well, actually no. We're going to race properly here and beat him fair and square. I was on a good run here, improving my driver rating. That last race didn't really help, if I'm honest. Finished 7th, I think it was, but driver rating didn't go down too much, or I don't think it went up too much, should I say. I think it probably went up, but just by a little bit. But we're going to try and beat this guy fair and square, show him how it's done properly, overtake him in the fairway. I think, and to be fair to him, he did send me messages and on Instagram as well, and he's like, yeah, sorry, I just missed my braking point. And sometimes it happens, I've done it before, where you just look at the wrong braking board. Normally into turn 1 you're looking for the 150, and you just get distracted, you look at the 100, and then you've braked 50 metres too late, and what do you know, you've murdered someone. It happens, and I think the best thing here was just to get on with it. Let's just try to race him properly, get past him properly, and then maybe turn our attention again to try to getting up to those top 2 guys. So we just look for that opportunity here through the second to last corner. It doesn't quite make itself shown, but perhaps into the final turn. Oh yes, there we go, just on cue. spins over to the left hand side. That was quite a common mistake people were making, going for that little spin, cheeky little spin out of the second to last corner. So easy to be doing that. So as I said, get that pass done on the Russian. We can now turn our attention to the top two here, and that's exactly what's going to happen, especially when they're defending like that, because it gives you such a speed advantage over the two of them. They're going to go side by side through there, which is just suboptimal at best. I'm going to slam up the inside here and move up into second, and we could potentially go for another race victory here, which is obviously the aim. As we sweep through the second to last corner into the final one, lap number 2. You don't want to get too close here actually, as we can just tuck into the slipstream now. Goes a little bit wide onto the Astro. You don't really want to do that. That's going to hinder his speed as we enter onto the main straight. Into the slipstream. Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to go fully to the right hand side. He wants to defend, fair enough. I'm going to move slightly to the left to go past him, but to make sure this Brit doesn't go up my inside as well. Kind of a tricky scenario. Looking at the radar here, look, 3 abreast into turn 1. But it kind of shows you these guys were trustable. You could race closely with these two guys. It was pretty good. I really enjoyed these. As we come down towards the next corner, I'm going to go for the move, are we? Kind of a risky place to go for it. But boom, we get it done. Trail break it in. Lovely jubbly. Into first place. Now it's a job of trying to keep our hands on this position for the remainder of the race. And we have some pressure here from our fellow Brit as we enter the final sector. This corner coming up, the downhill right-hand hairpin, very good overtake opportunity. He sees in the radar, too close for comfort, and therefore going to defend fully to the right side. Remember your braking point, the gantry, or just before. You see that because I was going in so narrow, I overshot. So probably if you want to go in narrow, you need to brake a little bit earlier. You can always re-release the brake for half a second if you have to. But we just about kept that position there. But it does put the pressure on through this final sector. It's really difficult to keep someone behind at this track because you've got these really good overtaking opportunities. And to be fair, this track does have lots of good overtaking opportunities. This final corner, you've got the first corner as well, and then you've got that downhill hairpin, you've got the hairpin in the middle. So there's probably about 4 really good overtaking opportunities here, and therefore it's quite hard to keep someone at bay. But that is our task for the next 1 minute and 38 seconds or so. As we cross the line to begin lap number 4, there he is. You can see the momentum he's got. Fully to the right hand side, don't miss your braking point, hit the 150, and boom, we are into the corner. Making sure we park it on the apex so he can't get the undercut on us. And we can pull away slightly here into the left-hand, the fast sweeping left-hander, braking about 75 metres before that corner, and then just got to watch out for that red paint on the exit, so it really can easily spin your car out and give you a nice big ripperoni pizza, freshly served, as it did in our previous video actually. As come through the apex of the corner, powering out to the outside. We actually have a decent margin here, and therefore that's kind of a decent gap. We don't have to defend from this kind of distance. We can just take the normal racing line, boom, hit the gantry braking point, and over the curb. Look at that. It really is like clockwork now. And what I would say about this is, yes, this is only one combination, it's only one car around one track, but I've learned a lot from this. I've learned a lot from just putting more time in and just trying to improve this specific circuit. I've learned a lot about how I get better qualifying times, how I race better, and what it takes to actually really get some good results. And hopefully you've learned a lot too, because I really enjoyed this session. And it's not normal that I bring 2 videos plus 2 streams on the same combination, but I felt like it was worth doing because of the results I was getting and how much of an improvement there was. But as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for making it this far into the video. And in the meantime, take care, and I shall see you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.